Alrighty, got the fourth subsection wired into this board now. That's how she's looking, with all the components now placed and soldered up. So tonight I put in the circuitry for the effects loop. Most of it's located right in this area, associated of course with the fourth 12AX7 tube, except a couple resistors down here are also associated. Those are these two resistors here, and all the rest is over here. So this effects loop is my own design, of course it is. Uses two triode stages of a 12AX7 tube. However, unlike just about every other effects loop, I'm using both of the stages on the return side and no tube buffering on the send side. Seems like just about everybody wants to put a cathode follower to drive the send side, but actually, just thinking about it, I don't believe that's actually necessary. So the input comes in here, and the whole trick with effects loops in tube amps is that the signal levels are generally too high within the amp for external effects, particularly solid state external effects, which most of them are. So it has to be attenuated. And as far as I can tell, it's perfectly valid to attenuate the signal with a simple resistor divider, which is what I do here. I've got a 1 meg into a 47K, and so that gives about a 20 to 1 attenuation, which should be just about right. On some of my other amps, there'll be a variable resistor on the bottom end of that ladder to adjust the send level, but in this amp it's just a fixed send level that I hope works out about right for most effects. And really, as far as I know, there is no benefit to having a cathode follower in there. Cathode followers are not some kind of magic device that has an incredibly low output impedance. They actually still have a relatively high impedance, being a tube circuit, and the cathode resistor is generally going to be large on a cathode follower, so therefore that's half of the drive impedance, and so it works out to be not any better than what I have here, because this circuit here presents a 1 meg load to the preceding circuitry, so it looks just like all my subsections pretty much have a 1 meg input impedance, and so this is just the same. So it doesn't do any excessive loading of the driving circuitry, but the output impedance is of course 47K in parallel with 1 meg, so a little under 47K is the send impedance, and that is not incredibly low, but it's a perfectly valid send impedance, and not really any worse than you would get with a typical cathode follower circuit. So to me, a cathode follower is extraneous and unnecessary in an effects send. And even if the send, the circuit that's having the signal sent to it shorts out this leg for some reason, there's still just a 1 meg impedance on the driving circuitry, so it doesn't harm anything. So there's no need for the cathode follower to quote-unquote buffer anything. It doesn't do anything useful. Instead, I use both sections of the 12AX7 here on the return. On the return, now that we've dropped it 20 to 1, we have to boost it back up. And as you can see, I've used two sections in series of my negative feedback triode circuit, the same one that I used in some other places, like up here in the V-mid circuit. And so these combine, multiply together to give the return gain, which 4.7 meg to 470k, this is a gain of 10. Two of them in series gives a gain of 100, which is similar. Usually people use one section in open loop to get about the same gain or a little less, but this does it in a much more controlled manner. And again, on some amps there will be an adjustment to this gain through a pot. On this one it's just fixed. But by having these two triode sections operating with negative feedback, they're much more linear than an open loop return. And also, of course, two inverting amps in series equals non-inverting. So my return is nicely non-inverting without any other special trickery. And so that's my design for an effects loop, a tube effects loop. Haven't seen anyone else do it this way. I hope there's not some reason for that, but we'll find out. As far as I know, this should work pretty well. This is the first time I'm using this circuit. In the first version of the McGrath Mini, I had a different circuit with just one triode stage, so this is more complicated and different design, but I believe it should work. On paper it should work, so this will be my first test of this effects loop topology, and we'll see how it goes. But that's what we got done tonight. Now remaining work before testing this is going to be to attach all the pots along the bottom edge here and all of the several switches. There are 4 switches that attach into this board, and then of course it also ultimately will connect to the relay board. For testing, I'm just going to jumper one section to the next so they're all active at once without the relay board having to be attached for the initial test, just to make sure all the sections are working like they should before I put it into the chassis and connect it up to the relay board. But that's where we're at tonight, so onward and upward. Boop.